My next viewer question is actually something I want to talk to you a little bit about. The question is grain-free food bad? I see it advertised in stores so often, but online I have read it can cause health issues. Is it not good for dogs?
So it's not really great for dogs. And we don't know exactly why.
Right. And we are
So
not the FDA. We have no formal training to make any kind of statements, but we do have research that
yeah,
supports it's not great.
right. So back in like 2018 or so, there were a lot of cardiologists noting that a bunch of dogs were getting DCM, and DCM is dilated cardiomyopathy. So it's a very particular type of heart disease.
Big heart.
Yeah, where the heart muscles stretch and the heart gets really big, and then the heart can't contract.
How the Grinch
Because
Stole Christmas
that's
in
right.
dogs.
In dogs, yeah. And across the country, veterinarians and cardiologists were noting more and more of these in breeds that don't normally get them and just numbers that were higher. So it turns out a lot of these dogs were eating grain-free food.
Mhm.
So at first they were like, oh, grain-free food doesn't have enough taurine in it. These dogs are deficient in taurine, which is really important. But then they started doing blood tests and they had decent levels of taurine. So they're like, well, it's not that. So then they were like, well, a lot of these foods are high in legumes. So if you don't have grain in the food, then you have to supplement it with something. So a lot of them had legumes, which are peas and lentils are kind of the most common ones. The theory that I know of as most recent one is that there's something in the legumes that bind to the taurine so the body can't absorb it.
Mhm.
So even though you have normal blood taurine levels, the body is not getting those levels in and leading to DCM. And sure enough, in 2018, 2019, when all of this was happening and the FDA released their statement about caution with grain-free foods, we had 4 or 5 cases of DCM in breeds that were not normal DCM breeds. A couple of the dogs died pretty quickly after diagnosis. Some of them we were able to get on meds and they did okay. And then I haven't seen a DCM case in like 4 years.
Yeah. Did all those dogs eat grain-free food?
All the dogs were on grain-free food and different grain-free foods. It wasn't like one brand and one problem.
Yeah. It's not one brand or company that's making grain-free food either.
Right.
It's a lot of them. I think about, I don't know, 10 years ago or when I first started in my career, so maybe 13, 14 years ago, grain-free food was not a thing.
No,
It
really wasn't.
no one had heard of it. It almost became a trend kind of in the later years where people were eating grain-free food more often and
Celiac disease,
gluten-free was
gluten-free, yeah.
becoming gluten sensitivities were becoming more common. And I think it almost became a trend to, well, your dog also shouldn't eat gluten. So grain-free became the trend.
Right.
And instead of, I think for a while companies were ignoring it and not saying anything about it, but instead of going in to say, hey, this isn't correct, I think some companies took advantage of the marketing factor of it, ooh, we can make a profit if we advertise grain-free food because
Right.
people will buy it now that they want gluten-free options.
Right,
So
exactly.
it's almost like companies gave in to the peer pressure of
and had
grain-free.
great marketing and advertising.
Because you notice brands like Science Diet, Royal Canin, they don't advertise their food as grain-free.
No, they don't have grain-free
Exactly.
food.
Exactly. Yeah. Because they are well-researched. They spend more money on research than marketing. I will always stand behind Science Diet and Royal Canin for their research purpose of, they make their food specifically with dogs' needs in mind.
Right.
And grain-free is not in their best interest.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that all grain-free is bad food.
No.
But
and honestly, since then, a lot of those companies were like, oh, shoot, we got to do what's right for dogs. And so they started changing up their recipes a little bit. And now, because marketing, they're like ancient grains. Look at our dog food with ancient grains because that's what's healthier than normal grain.
We just make it sound a little bit better than grain. I think some companies, too, I'm not going to name any names, so I don't want to have any biased opinions. I think some companies who were almost labeled as junk food were the companies that were like, oh, well, it's junk food because they, corn is the first ingredient.
Right. I was going to mention corn. Corn is not a horrible thing to have in dog food.
Right.
Maybe don't have it be your first ingredient, but corn is not bad in dog food.
It's a filler that's going to be in food.
Oh, but it's not even a filler.
It's not a filler?
There's a lot of nutrient dense properties in corn, a lot of vitamins that are in there. There's good reasons for corn to be in food.
I apologize to all the corn farmers. Corn is a great thing. I love corn. I think
oh, yeah. Actually, I think it's Cornell's veterinary school
Cornell.
has Cornell.
Cornell.
What?
Corn.
Oh. Wow. Oh my God. I walked right into that. I'm like, did I say it wrong? Cornell's vet
Cor-
school.
Cornell.
That's great, Sam.
Cornell. Let's just clear that up for viewers. Cornell is a vet school in New York. It has nothing to do with corn. The name is just Cornell.
It's them or Tufts. I can't remember which one, but they have a really good article from a veterinary nutritionist on the benefits of corn and dog food.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it is Cornell. Now that I think about it, because I
Corn.
as much as I just love it, it's Cornell.
It's got to be Cornell. It is official Cornell.
I think a fun fact too that I tell people when they have some doubts about the well-researched brands is AAFCO, AAFCO certified, where they make sure that a certain number, I believe it's 80% of their ingredients are true to what's on the bag in the same portion size.
Yeah.
Whereas some foods that are not certified like that, it can be different amounts of that ingredient. It's not regulated.
Right. Yeah. It's not regulated as well. There are certain criteria you have to meet. A lot of foods are AAFCO certified. Some aren't still, which is weird, but it doesn't take much to be AAFCO certified. There's an additional certification that I really like. That's WASVA, I believe. And not a lot of dog food companies are certified with that.
Mm-hmm. Are there any that are off the top of your head?
All the big ones are.
Science Diet, Royal Canin.
Yeah. Purina. Mm.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Purina has some great diets. I really like Purina.
Yeah, they really do. And Purina also has, they did a study. Apparently they have a property where they have a whole bunch of different dogs who live there, and they did a lifetime study, which lifetime for dogs, not humans. And they proved in this study that if you keep dogs thin and fit, they live an average of 2 years longer than fat dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So they had all these dogs live on their property. They had some of the labs be fat, which I bet those dogs loved that. And then they had some of them that were normal dogs, and then some that were actually like thin fit, like good body conditions, but fit. And those dogs lived an average of 2 years longer. So every time I tell owners, please get your dog to lose weight, which I do 1,005 times a day, it's because I want your dog to live longer.
Not even just a longer life, because 2 years in a dog that's like
really long
10 to
time.
15 years for humans. But a better quality of life.
Right. Less joint pain.
Yeah. An overweight dog has so many issues that are underlying that, they struggle to get up because they have more body weight on them that they're supporting. They develop diabetes and thyroid issues really easily because they're predisposed with being overweight.
Breathing issues, heart issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So having a longer life is important, but having a better quality of life too.
Right.
And diet is just like people. It's underrated, it's underappreciated, it's undervalued. You have to feed yourself and your dogs a high quality diet for them to have a high quality life.
Mm-hmm.
So I respect the dog food companies that have taken that approach of we will always shoot for meeting the needs of the dog.
Right.
And yeah, those companies thrive on that.
One of my favorite sayings is there's 3 things that are too controversial to talk about in a room with a client: religion, politics, and dog food. Because people get so heated about dog food.
They do.
So heated.
Yeah. And we can't say that we're nutritionists. We know that. Right. We get some training in school.
Right.
In vet school, you guys get a lot of training about nutritional balances, nutritional needs. We don't keep up with every single nutritional study. There are veterinary nutritionists who do that.
Yeah.
Those are the people we listen to. So our opinions are based off professional opinions. We're not just pulling this out of a hat or getting sponsored by these companies. They're not paying us to sell their dog food.
That one backpack from Science Diet. It's kept me going all these years.
I do love Science Diet, though.
I do love that backpack. I got it in my freshman year of vet school, and I still have it and use it. It came with me to New Zealand. Like, I love that backpack.
Science Diet, if you're listening, send us some backpacks. We would love that. Anna wants to go back to New Zealand. Well, on that note, diet, like we said, very important. If they have an illness like kidney disease, their diet needs change. If they have an illness that is urinary related, they have diets that cater to that too.
Yep.
So it is important to talk about all your dog's dietary needs with your vet, especially when they develop later in life issues like that. So thank you for that approach on grain-free food, because it's not just one, subject of is grain-free bad? Well, is grain-free great? No, but let's talk more about the other factors that are good.
And some dogs do great on grain-free food,
course.
but there's it's very rare to have a need where they can't have grain.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Most food allergies in dogs are chicken and beef.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a protein source, not that.
Exactly. And they have hydrolyzed protein diets for those dogs with allergy needs, which is great. That's an amazing product. I think that came out within the last 10 years, the hydrolyzed protein diets.
Because usually you just do novel protein.
Exactly.
Start feeding rabbit or kangaroo or alligator.
But we're actually seeing, I had a lecture about this recently. More dog food brands are introducing venison and rabbits into more
They are.
foods,
So
so
it's
it's
not a
becoming
novel
a
protein.
non-novel. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And these dogs need food trials done, and a food trial is very extensive. And I almost want to say it's really difficult because for 4 to 6 weeks, nothing touches this dog's mouth besides that food. No treats, no human food,
Right. You have to be careful with
water,
flea and
and that.
heartworm
Mhm.
prevention.
Water and that food is the only thing they eat for 4 to 6 weeks. And those are things that can be a little subjective because one wrong move and you've completely
Yeah.
demolished the
You have
whole
to start over
trial.
the
You have to
food
start
trial.
over.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
I get a ton of pushback on food trials because owners
Mhm.
are like, that's not happening with this
Yeah.
dog. I'm
I'll
like,
admit, my dog would never successfully do a food trial because she finds every crumb of every
yeah, yeah.
piece lying around the house. And I would just say, I would throw in the towel. I'd say, you know what, just
Yeah, exactly.
you just get the HP food. All right, we have one more question. It's actually an interesting one because you have a dog or had a dog
Mm.
in this situation. The question is, what is the best thing to do when I find a dog on the street?
Oh, yep.
You know exactly what I'm
Yep.
thinking of.
So if you find a dog on the street and you're able to safely do it, take the dog, pick it
Mhm.
up, get it out of a dangerous situation. And then the first thing you should do is bring it to your vet or the shelter to scan for a microchip.
Yep.
Microchips save lives. We get a lot of clients that'll come in. They're like, I found this dog in my neighborhood. Microchip, call the owner. They pick it up within minutes. It's
Mhm.
incredible.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know what a microchip is, it is a small device the size of a grain of rice that is implanted in a dog, always for shelter cases because they always microchip shelter dogs, and usually puppies when they are coming in for shots or their
Mhm.
routine spay neuter, they get microchipped. It's a little radio frequency device and it picks up a very unique number
Mhm.
that identifies them. And we put that number into the database. We can tell what company is registered with. We
Right.
call the company, we get the information.
Yep.
So it
And
does save lives.
And the dog she's talking about was a little Shih Tzu found on the side of the road.
Wait,
Um,
we know what we have to say.
Tell me about your dog.
dog.
So Maeve is an unknown age geriatric Shih Tzu that we found on the side of the road, and she had a microchip, but it was never registered. And so if your veterinarian places the microchip, they will at least have your information in their
Right.
database.
A
So
shelter, though.
the shelter is a
have
little
that.
trickier, and
Mhm.
breeders, they don't always register to them. But like if well, we do it differently. We actually register the owners for the owner.
Right. So
But
do we.
yeah, but
But a shelter, you have to go in and manually change it yourself when you
yeah,
adopt the dog. They don't
yeah,
do it for you most of the time.
yeah. So she had the chip, but there was no contact
Yeah.
information with it. So
So basically just as useless as not having a chip.
yeah, so a good thing to do is to search for the owner. So a lot of times with social media now and Facebook, there's a lot of Facebook groups like Lost and Found
Yes.
Pets. There's the Hillsborough County
I
Lost
love
and
those
Found
pages.
Pets.
They
Yeah.
are so helpful. We use them all the time at the ER because people would bring dogs
Yeah,
in
to
the
the
middle of the
ER.
night.
Mhm.
You know, when the day vets are closed and the animal control's closed because it's during the
Right.
night. And sometimes we found dogs before the morning.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
got them
absolutely. Call the
reunited.
owner in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Your dog's missing. She's like, no, they're not. Wait, they're not here.
Yes, they are because I'm looking at them.
Yeah, exactly. So utilize your social media, utilize your shelter as well. It
Yes.
is good to contact your shelter, tell them that you found a dog, find out what their protocol is for a lost dog.
Mhm.
You don't always have to give the dog to the shelter for them to put it in their database.
Right.
Depending on how the shelter functions. So we looked for a while for the owner for this little Shih Tzu. Couldn't ever find it. Posted her on social media, so she just kind of lived with me, and I was like, "Oh, I'll keep her." She's old, and she lived like 6 more years.
Was
So,
she really 6 more years with you guys?
yeah, because
That's
we found her the
amazing.
first year we opened, and we euthanized her just the end of last year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But she was older when you found her, though.
She was mostly blind. We had to do a dental and pull most of her teeth. Her nails were ingrown into her paws. Her
Mhm.
skin was a wreck. Her
Mhm.
ears were a wreck. And yeah, she was a fun little dog to have.
Yeah, and like you said, pick the animal up if you have the means to. I will say there's a little bit of caution you need to use if you find a dog if they're hurt, because sometimes hurt dogs will react if someone tries to pick them up and bite.
Yeah.
So I've always told people to be cautious if they find a dog, um, have some way to cover their face when you
Yeah.
pick them up in case they are hurt, because not out of meanness, but they may bite if they're in pain.
Yeah.
So that's been one thing that I've noticed when it comes to rescuing a hurt dog.
Right.
Obviously a stray dog is just walking around that just come on the car. I love the video that went around for a little bit. It was a car in front of another car, and the person in front of them dumps this dog, and within seconds, the girl in the car opens their car
Oh
door, and the
my
dog
God.
runs
And the
over
dog's
the
like, all
car.
right, you're my new mom
That
now.
dog was homeless for about 0.4 seconds and then hops in somebody else's
Record.
car.
It's a record for homelessness and dogs.
Yes. And please do not dump your dogs on the side of the road. If you have a rehoming situation where you can't take care of your dog anymore, please work with your local veterinarian or shelter to get them rehomed. Please, please, please do not dump your dogs.
I think one of my favorite stories is my dad was driving home and there's a little dog on the side of the road and he drove by it and he went, what would Anna do? So he turned back around and he went and he got the dog. And for about an hour, he was trying to figure out what to do. So he went to the shelter, they scanned it, it didn't have a chip. So he's like, well, now what do? I don't want to leave it at the shelter.
WWAD. What would Anna do?
What would Anna do? So he had this whole thing. So then he's driving around the neighborhood. He's talking to my mom. They're going on Facebook. Long story short, he took the dog out of the dog's yard because it was like right on the edge of the yard, like in the road, in my dad's defense. But so as he's driving around trying to figure out like an hour and a half later what to do with this dog, he sees someone outside. So he stops to talk to them and it was their dog or their neighbor's dog. And they're like, yeah, and he was like, I picked her up from right there. So leash your dog, have a fence, make sure
his intentions were very good. His heart was
intentions were
in the
very
right
good.
place.
Yeah.
It's ultimately a successful story because he reunited.
The dog didn't get hit by a car, even though she was in the road,
Mhm.
and she was safe and reunited with the owner.
Yes, all's well that ends well. It's a happy ending.
I love that.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for joining us for another episode and answering some viewer questions.
Yay.
We love getting your questions. Please continue to send them into our Instagram DM. Tell me about your dog podcast, where I can hear more topics you want to talk about and share your dog stories. Also, please be sure to follow the show on Spotify and YouTube. And until next time, I'll see you.